All right, welcome back to Ben's then, everybody. And we got the last show of the year for tournament coverage, at least. I'll do an end of year show, but this is our last one. I got my boy Max Schwartz here with me, as you can see. And Schwartzy, we got a lot to talk about. It was the first girls' New England tournament ever. We had record-setting team points on the boys' side. We had 2 and 3-time champs, some breaking the ceiling for their first win in their career on the top of the podium at New England's. An amazing display of New England wrestling, and I'm ready to chop it up with you, buddy. How you doing tonight?
Dude, I'm doing great. Ready to recap, like you said, an amazing weekend of wrestling. Spotlight all the kids that earn these great accomplishments. It's going to be a fun time.
It sure is. And to the viewers, it's going to be a long one because we got a lot to do. Because again, as I mentioned, we have our first ever New England championship for the girls. And so I thought, in honor of the old adage, ladies first, that we would start there. So in the 100-pound division for the girls, we had Hannah Perro from Noble. She pinned her way through the tournament from the 6th seed. And again, I'm going to start this entire thing off with first championship ever for the girls. The seeding, I imagine, was a bit of a crapshoot at times, and just lack of results and everything. And I'm sure they did everything the best they could. And so as the tournaments progress, that'll get a little more precise, just like it is with the boys. And so again, Hannah Perro was your 6th seed. She made her way to the finals. She faced Samantha Bertini from Ludlow, and she ended her day with a second period pin over Bertini in the first ever Girls New England Championship. We had in third place Allison Patton from Pilgrim. She takes third over Selena Beatrice from
Gotcha. Yep.
Jonathan Batras.
Yep.
Okay, from Jonathan Law. High scoring decision, 10-8. And then in fifth and sixth match, we had Sophia Gordon from South Windsor. She had a 9-3 win over, this one's you might have to help me here.
Lynette.
What, say again?
De Lynette.
De Lynette Sanchez Cardona from Platt. And before I pass it over to you, Max, I got to tell you, cool story with Hannah Perro. So if you've been on the New Hampshire or the Maine scene or any New England scene, I imagine, you've probably seen this girl wrestling. And she's wrestled the boys and the girls, but way, way back, she wrestled at what was called the YMCA Holiday Tournament. And I used to coach there with my good friend, Rick Ross. And in this little kindergarten room is where Rick Ross was. And so I rolled in there one day, and there was a break in the action between these two little kindergartners. Little cute blonde girl from Maine, little pigtails, white big headgear, bigger than her head. And she's looking at Rick, who's reffing the match. And he goes, "Go ahead, get on top." And she literally got on top of the kid like a hobby horse and tried to ride him. Cutest thing ever. And now here she is some years later, smashing through the competition to capture the first New England Girls Championship. So congratulations to Hannah Perro of Noble, Maine. A great way for them to start out. What were your thoughts on it?
I think this was actually one of the brackets where seeds, kind of they may not have been right, but I feel like it was the right wrestlers in the semifinals here. You got Samantha Bertini. She's a Fargo All-American. She was ranked fourth at 95 pounds, I believe, when the USA Wrestling Women's Rankings still had that weight in the rankings. And for Hannah Perro to come out and get the second period pin, nothing to take away from her win, but I did hear Samantha Bertini did something to her ankle in the match, but still, I just imagine it would have been a lot closer if she was fully healthy. But who's to say the outcome would have been different? And Allison Pattern definitely shocked me coming in third. I think in my girls rankings I had her ranked seventh or so. So for her to get a that nice high, like you said, high scoring win over Selena Batras, that was very nice to see.
Not bad, not bad at all. All right, so Maine got their first New England champ on the girls' side, so we went to 107. And not to be outdone was Madeline Ripley from Oceanside. She gave Maine their second New England champion. She pinned her way to the finals, decisioning Tatiana Irizarry from Ledyard, 6-2. Not surprised to see Maine shining in the girls division. Lots of work done over the years, behind the scenes, really pushing. In my experience, Maine did a tremendous job in leading the girls in New England to competitions and setting the expectations. So shout out to Maine for that, and to Madeline Ripley for her title at 107 pounds. We had Mia Deneen from Hingham. She topped Addison Herdick from Ellis Tech for third, and then Daisy Hawkins from Situate over Olivia Polanski from BR. I think that's Bristol, if I'm not mistaken.
Bridgewater, Raynham.
Bridgewater Raynham, that's right, one of those big ones.
Yeah.
Well, and she took fifth place. So, two weight classes wrestled, Schwartzy, and we got two main New England champs. What do you think about that?
Well, not only two main champs, but two nationally ranked wrestlers. With Madeline Ripley also being top 30. And this was one of the finals matches that I kind of had circled on the girls' side, and I kind of rushed straight over to watch when it came on. Tatiana Urizaria, she was the first ever girl to win a match at the Connecticut Boys State Tournament. So I just had to see, that skill against Madeline Ripley. And Ripley did not disappoint. She just looked dominant throughout the whole tournament. Even this finals match, Tatiana gave her, a little run for her money. Definitely, obviously, keeping it the closest match in the tournament for Ripley. But Madeline just went above and beyond this year.
Yeah, not a bad day for Miss Ripley there.
Hmm.
All right, so we moved to 114, and again, we're in the girls divisions, and the weight classes are kind of meted out a little bit different. So again, we got 114 here, and we had Madeline Lee from Andover is your 114-pound girls champs. She started with a 6 seed, though. Again, as I said, and Max, you're gonna school me on the seeds. That's why I'm so glad you're here with me. Um, but Lee had 2 pins and 2 decisions, including over runner-up Brooke Weaver of Bristol Plymouth. You had, I want to say Cybella, could be
Yep.
Sabella.
So,
Cybella Landry from Berlin, machine, 77 points over 2 days. And after dropping her quarterfinal, she battled back to beat Brooklyn Weber of Mount Blue for a third place finish. Amazing output, 77 points. And then you had 15 seed Noah Edwards from Duxbury. She downs Kennedy Davis of Bridgewater Raynham for fifth place with a first period pin. So, Max, I gotta ask. Obviously, Lee had a great day, but I gotta figure out what you know about this 77 points, young lady. But as
yeah,
you,
I mean, so Sabella, she's extremely talented. I believe she won both the Connecticut Griswold girls Tri-County tournament earlier the year and Connecticut's Queen of the Mat tournament, which is kind of like the mid-season states. But yeah, she's legit. I believe she's only a sophomore too, sophomore or junior. So she's definitely going to be making more noise for year to come, and probably be competing for the title even harder than she was this year.
yeah, I can imagine. I mean, 77 points, and you're in third place. I mean, you got a couple extra matches, so I get it. But wow, gonna be around for a few years. That's exciting. So at 120, you had Jaden Coppins, a senior from Colchester, led 4 Vermont podium finishers with her first place effort in the 120-pound division. She pinned second place Delaney Frost from Noble in a second period to claim the title. So Maine knocking on the door of a third champion. And instead, Vermont comes in, swoops it in with Jaden Coppins. You had Jasmine Whitfield from, I think it's Stamford, she bounced back from her semis loss to Coppins and claimed third over Ganal Seelick, Exeter, West Greenwich. Is it Greenwich or Greenwich?
Greenwich.
All right, Greenwich. So that W is silent. Okay, gotcha. And then fifth place, Adriana DeGrot, Framingham, pinned sixth place finisher Crystal Miguel Amity to finish the tournament nicely. So a senior from Vermont, Colchester, Coppin, she gets it done on her way out, inaugural tournament. Not a bad way to end your girls' high school career, huh?
Yeah, yeah, and Jaden Coppins, she is tough. I believe she was either a running back or safety for her high school football team. She won the girls 18U New England's last year. She won the my Schwartz Report showcase in the fall. I feel like going into this, you had to know who she was at 120. And for her, just pin her way through it, it's even more remarkable. I thought Jasmine Whitfield in the semifinals was going to give her the toughest match, and it looks like she did. I guess with I think being the only one to score a takedown on Coppins, but overall just a great performance from her. And it's pretty crazy. Maine had what is it, 4 finalists, or I think three of the first three finalists in the first 4 weight.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. And
Crazy with some
listen,
Maine representation there.
if you didn't know Coppins before, you know her now. because
Hmm.
that's a very dominant day. So again, congratulations to Jaden Coppins, your 120-pound New England champ in the girls division. And so that brings us to 126 pounds. And I did a little research, just like you. You're not the only one, Max. I got to dig around a little bit. And I guess what began as a dare from a volleyball teammate has turned into a New England championship for one Lindsay Rewalt from
Rivalry.
Stratford. 6-2 decision over runner-up Hannah Bryson. So not a bad dare turnout. And after losing in the semis, we had Lena Rodriguez from your neck of the woods in Norwalk.
Yep.
She marched to third with a second period win over fourth place Lilu Guardian
I believe.
from Noble. And then you had Natalia Jaramillo from Neshoba. She had a 5-0 decision over Piper Leone of Belfast. And, to go like, yeah, I guess I'll try wrestling to, I guess I got a championship. That's a heck of a turnaround.
Yeah, Lindsay Rival, she's legit. She won the Eastern States Classic earlier in the year. I believe she was fourth at the Connecticut. I mean, not the Connecticut, the 18U New England's last year. And then for her to just come in and cap this victory off, props to her.
Yeah, not a bad day at all.
Hmm.
All right, 132 pounds. Hoshina Gemi from Old Lyme. She pinned her way to the finals and edged a game Jillian Glasky from Mount Anthony for the 132-pound inaugural championship. You had Riley Donahue from Norwalk, lost her second match, rattled off 4 wins, including a dominating win over Madison Dowd of Tri-County. And then after dropping a 2-1 heartbreaker in the Concy semis, New Hampshire's Emily Angelo from Merrimack, she became the first to reach the podium for the 603. An amazing young lady, tough, gritty wrestler. She's headed out of state to Iowa for college and a little wrestling out there. She was able to grab fifth place with a finish over Morgan Penapiti from Gloucester. And so good luck, Em. Great way to finish out your senior year. And given that, it looks like it was Hoshina's day there, Max.
Yeah, yeah. She's an NHSCA All American. She was 113, I believe, or 114, I believe, last year. So for her to go up to 132 and kind of just stay as dominant is very impressive.
She was at
Jillian,
114 last year.
yeah, she was an NHSC All American at 114.
Whoa, how about that growth spurt?
Yeah.
And to maintain that dominance. Very, very impressive.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well,
Jillian Glasky from Mount Anthony. Gotta love to see the Mount Anthony still staying dominant in wrestling.
yeah, on both sides now.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. All right, so let's pop up. What are we at? 138. We had Ashland's Nora quit, only had 3 takedowns in the tournament. The good news for her, that's all she needed. With
Yep.
just 2 minutes and 46 seconds of wrestling time, Quit was a dominant force from start to finish, and you could have copied her box score from each round. Takedown pin, takedown pin, takedown pin. And so that left the rest fighting for third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. And you had Kanya McCarthy from Fairfield Ludlow. She was runner up at 138 after reaching the finals with a thrilling semis match, which ended in a pin with 40 seconds left as the score was tied 4-4. So big win there. And then you had, looks like Lila Akandi from Shelton. She got a first period pin over Amaya Smith, Oliver Ames, to claim third place there. And then another New Hampshire girl pops on the podium, and Caitlin Zanoni from Pelham, New Hampshire. She had a great tournament in her junior year. She claimed fifth place over Sophia Lanson from Weston. She's tough, methodical wrestler. Will no doubt look to improve her place in her senior year. And, this Nora Quit.
Yeah.
I bet you know her, don't you?
Yeah, yeah. She's another girl, nationally ranked, I believe, I think 28 last time I checked. And I think her only in-season loss or in-region loss on the year is to Prep School Phillips Andover's Danny Nugent, who's ranked, top 10 in the country. And I think even that was a 3-1 or 3-2 match. So Nora Quit is legit,
For
to put
real.
it on right there.
And let's be honest, it's been a long time around here that if you're wrestling the Nugent, you're in trouble. So those kids just keep showing up and they're all tough. And so not surprised to hear that. All
Hmm.
right, 145 pounds. The final match of the day for Esther Ribeiro of Bethel started out rough. She was trailing 4-1 heading into the second. And then the one seed quickly adjusted. She took bottom to start the third, escaped, got the takedown, and right to a pin for the championship over Shelby Galix of Northeast Metro Tech Bishop Fenwick, who pinned her way to the finals. Two very tough ladies right there. Another tough young lady is one I speak of often on my weekly recaps for the New Hampshire wrestling, and that's New Hampshire's Sauhegan Isabel Brandt. So this young lady, don't let the smile fool you. She is tough. And so she decided to see how tough she was. And so she dropped her first match, takes the toughest road in the tournament, pinned her way to the Conti finals, and secured a major decision over Tessa Johnson, blanking her 9-0 for third place. She's only a junior. She works really hard, and she's starting to understand that she's good. So it's going to be interesting to see what she can do in the offseason. But what an amazing tournament by her. And obviously, Esther Ribeiro taking down the championships. Not a bad day for either lady.
Yeah, dude, Esther. It's kind of funny, I'm 90% sure Esther is, a hardcore judo girl, very loves her throws and stuff. So first period, 10, 15 seconds in, when she got headlocked and thrown, I think that was pretty crazy. So props to Shelby Galix for doing that and leading the whole match. But like you said, Esther just readjusted and was able to get the come from behind pin for her first New England title.
Not a bad listen. If you're gonna win a tournament, it's rare you're not gonna face some adversity, and the champs make it through. You get
Hmm.
stuck on your back in the semis, and you're lucky enough to get out. You
Yeah.
know, it builds character, I guess, is what they say. All right, so let's jump to 100 and what do we have? 52?
Two.
Yeah, 52. Well, I'll tell you what, Schwartzy, let you lead the dance. Why don't you tell me about 52?
All right, 52, starting off, we got Kelly Aspress from Foreign in Connecticut as a champion. It was a Connecticut rematch as she took down Callie Fangilo from Plainville. Coming in third from Watertown, Massachusetts, Tessa Master took out Brooke Davis from St. Johnsbury. And then fifth place, Kaylee Fuller from Monty Tech was able to get the match over Hannah Brewer from Central. I'm not sure what Central that is. I think Maine, Central Maine. And this, like I said, was a Connecticut rematch, and Aspras just dominated like she did in the Connecticut State Finals. She's a D1 Sacred Heart commit and gave us a beautiful rendition of the national anthem before the final started. What more could you ask?
Multi-talented. I love that when they can do
Yeah,
that. Come out, sing like an angel, and then kick the snot out of you. How great is that?
like an angel, wrestle like an animal.
Exactly. And how about Fanguilo, 15th seed before reaching the
Right.
finals? Like,
She's, I want to say, a sophomore too, I believe, sophomore or junior. So another person who's going to be around for a year. So maybe
yeah,
next, when Aspers is gone, she'll be able to break through.
yeah, and I imagine next year that seating is gonna look a lot different on her name. So
Hmm.
welcome to
Be
the
a lot
party.
lower number. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So that brings us to 165. Megan Wiebe from Sharon. She comes from the sixth seed to take down the championship at 165. She beats runner-up Emma Leonito from Hanover, blanked her 4-0. We had Zadie Page from Belfast. She dropped her quarters match, bounced back with 3 wins, including a 7-6 ultimate tiebreaker over Sky Lewitt of Burr and Burton in the Conti finals and claimed third place. Gotta love those ultimate tiebreakers at this stage of the game. And then you got Shalom Feliz, Montpelier, I believe that is, battling through some injuries at the end of the day in fifth place with a big second period pin over Marangeli Teixeira from Trumbull, Connecticut. Um, I'm not familiar with any of these girls, but I got to tell you, coming from the sixth seed, it's no small feat. You're going to have some tough matches to get into the finals. So tell me what you know about these young ladies.
Yeah, so Megan Weeby, I think I had her ranked, I believe, fourth in my 165 prep and public girls rankings. So, I knew she was, an animal going into this, but I believe I had Marangeli Teixeira ranked higher than her. So to see Weeby just come out and pin the Connecticut State champ in, uh, dominantly, kind of 5-1. It was very, very interesting to see. And this whole bracket is very interesting. Shalom Feliz was kind of a sleeper in my eyes. Because, in my girls' rankings, I considered her, but ultimately I obviously left her off the list. And, here she is making me eat my words, coming out and placing this tournament, beating a couple wrestlers that, I had ranked higher than her. So it's cool to see.
Yeah, well, there's a reason we go out and wrestle or play any of the game. Like you and
Mhm.
I can prognosticate until the cows come home, but you still got to go out there and turn it on. And so I always tell the kids, I hope you prove me wrong. I'm not looking to be right. I'm just trying to take an educated guess. So
Yep.
lots of pies on my face. Don't worry.
Mhm.
All right, so we bump up. This one is one close to my heart because it's got a nice New Hampshire girl in there at 185 pounds. So it was 3 seed versus the 12 seed, with the three coming out on top. So Kaylee Morris of Platt, she pins Erilyn Figueroa of oof,
East Longmeadow.
yep, that one. For the title at 185 pounds, you had Kendall Foster of Mount Blue.
Hmm.
She dropped her semis match to drop down and win one before facing Concord, New Hampshire's Madison Beauregard for third place. Now, Beauregard decided I'll take a different path. She figured, I'll drop my first match, I'll win the next three before dropping a 3-2 heartbreaker to Foster. She takes fourth place. And so, congrats to Foster on her third place and to Miss Beauregard of Concord, New Hampshire on her fifth place. She'll be back next year, no doubt, better than ever. And then we had Essence Tucker of Quincy Upper. She took out Angeles Munoz of Marlboro, 5-0 for fifth place. And again, Madison's one of my homegrown over here in New Hampshire, so I'm always a homer. Um, but she had a great tournament. It seems like she got better with each match, and the pressure never got to her. Just very business as usual. And I think she's going to be one of those girls that we're going to be looking at next year, a little further up on that. And so, good day for her. But what about those other young ladies?
Yeah, Kaylee Morris coming from Connecticut, I think was just far above and beyond, the most dominant in this weight class by far. I know she wrestles a lot during the off season, so she's very experienced. She knows what she's doing, and she definitely showed it here this weekend.
I dig it. All right. And our final bracket for the Girls New England Championships, year one. We had Ariana Bellamy from, I think that's Maloney. That's your inaugural 235-pound champ after a dominant finals victory over Samantha Rabkin of Sharon, 15-4. It was the only four scored on her in the entire tournament. And then you had another Ariana, Navarre from Agawam. She best Lillian Soper of Bucksport for third. And Mallory Sefik of St. Paul. She made quick work of Gianna Saikan from South Shore for fifth place here. And I got to tell you, two Arianas in one bracket is rare enough. But only 4 points scored on that young lady in the entire tournament, and it was at the very end. And I didn't have a chance to watch it, but I'm wondering if any of that was just a let her up and take her down kind of thing at 15-4. So, Schwartzy, what'd you see?
Yeah, I hate to break your heart, but Rabkin's points were off a couple reversals in the second. But Bellamy was just dominant. And how about that? 6 champs for Connecticut, half the weight classes. Bellamy capping it off there. And the most interesting thing here is I had Bellamy ranked second and Lowell's Amelia Martinez ranked first at this weight class. And they actually faced off in the quarterfinals. And I believe Bellamy won by injury default, but she was up 5-0. But who would have knows how this bracket would have shaped out if Amelia Martinez, she ended up having to medically forfeit. I feel like she definitely would have found her way on the podium in this bracket had she have been 100% healthy the whole tournament.
Yeah, it's a dangerous game we play here, and we're gonna repeat that theme again when we go to the boys section. Specifically that 157 category. Yeah, big injury there changes things, right? And so you wrestle who they put in front of you, and that's what it is. So to wrap up the girls, let me shout out real quick again my New Hampshire girls. So you had our highest finisher at 145 pounds was third place Isabel Brandt from Souhegan. 185, fourth place Madison Beauregard from Concord. At 132 pounds, fifth place Emily Angelo from Merrimack. And then at 138, also fifth place, Caitlin Zanoni Pelham. Great job, ladies. Again, all of these ladies are trailblazers. And it's great to see the progress being made. And so when we talk about the girls' team results, one team stood above the others, and that was Noble. They had
I think
one
the most
champion,
girls.
one second place, and I believe it was a fourth.
Yep.
And if you're a fan of New England wrestling, shouldn't be surprised. Noble has they've been putting in the work on the girls scene. Maine has done a lot of work on the girls scene, and based on what I've seen this year, so has Connecticut. And
Yeah.
so I imagine the next couple of years are going to be very interesting to watch the development, and that parity is going to come in as the gaps in level close, right? And so
Mhm.
um obviously, like you said, Connecticut representing well. So here's I'm acquiescing to you to blow your state up. So go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you mentioned it first, or you brought it up first. Maine, kind of like you said, leading the way with Noble and even Mount Blue in the top five here in team scores. But yeah, Connecticut's been going just really hard in girls. I know specifically Team Tugman, Blair Tugman. He has a bunch of girls programs that he's been working on. And you see we got a few girls teams from Connecticut here in the top 10. With Foreign, Bethel, and my hometown Norwalk placing third, getting a team trophy. But yeah, Connecticut girls wrestling is really on the rise, and it's definitely going to be here to stay for the next couple of years.
Well, it matches the boys wrestling, which is where we're going to head into because um, though a Rhode Island team, dominated. I gotta tell you, and it's a conversation maybe you and I can have on another episode, but I am very curious as to what the work has been put in down there in Connecticut. Because in the last 10 to 15 years, the level of wrestling that's coming out of Connecticut is insane. And so, like anybody who wants to be better, I think you ask questions to the people that are doing it great. So again, question for another time, but it does segue nicely into boys portion of the New England's championship. And so it was not the inaugural. And I know that because we actually had a repeat team champion this year who not only bested their own record from last year, they just blew it out of the waters. They had seven finalists, they're ranked nationally in the country. Again, whole bunch of stuff. I thought Haverhill had a great tournament. Xavier represented well on the team level. But in order to understand how that all came about, we got to dig through 14 more brackets. So you ready, Schwartzy?
Let's do it.
All right. So we start right at 106 pounds. And you know what? I'm gonna let you lead. I've been leading, so I'm gonna take this time to let you drop it in.
Perfect. Let's do it. So here at 106 pounds, we had one seed, or I'm sorry, not the one seed. We had a number one finisher, Cole Lemovitz, coming in, taking it away with a 4-2 decision over Isaiah McDaniel from Middletown. And, McDaniel bested Robbie Newton from Scituate in the semis, and Newton ended up taking third place let me get that score. Newton ended up besting Chase Kastner of Southington, Connecticut, 5-2. And then the fifth place match, Ben Fournier, senior from Raymond, Connecticut, bested Kylan Berry from Marshwood, Maine, in a close 3-2 match where Berry was actually the first to score a takedown, I believe.
So
So,
check out Lemovitz, right? First
Mhm.
Pontigansett. And if you didn't know, Pontigansett crushed it. If you didn't know, your head's in the ground because we were recording this way later than New England's.
Yeah.
And everybody should know. So there's number one. So do you get to watch this kid a lot? Like I don't see Pontigansett a lot through the season. Obviously, they're traveling to some way bigger tournaments and that kind of thing. So tell me about this kid. Looks pretty tough.
Yeah, so Cole Lemovitz, kind of funny, he goes to Pontigansett in Rhode Island, but he's actually from Connecticut. And
Weird.
he's older. He's able to go to the school through I believe it's like a tech or trade program that the school offers. And the reason you don't really see him or many other Pontigansett teams is because they really travel out of region a lot. And I've talked with their head coach, and it's just what you have to do to be battle tested. If you notice during the finals, every Pontigansett's kid record when it was announced was just 20-0 because all they do is they put their New England records. In reality, their teams are like Cole Lemonitz, I think, is like 35-3 or something like that. But that's because 18 of his matches are against kids from New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and that's what you have to do if you want to succeed in this region. You can't just stay in the region. You have to go seek out that tougher competition. So that's what I think. Joyce, DeNoble, Minio, they do a great job over there at Pontigansett of finding the right competition for their kids and making sure they're battle tested for these tough tournaments.
Yeah, it clearly shows. I mean, a very dominant day for those guys. And again, starting at 106, it popped off just nice. And so if we hop to 113, This was one of those, almost like a lead pipe lock if he wrestled the way he was supposed to. And so you had Raekwon Shabazz Xavier. He scored 54 points over 2 days. Shabazz was a machine, taking out Morris, Fletcher, Bellini to reach the finals before he took out Nick DeSisto of Tewksbury, 12-5 decision. You had Michael Morris. He battled back after losing to Shabazz in the round of 16. He won six straight, and he took third over Dominic Ganji. Via forfeit in that particular match. Again, this time of the year, people are banged up. The difference between third and fourth, sometimes it's just time to
Already
wrap
made
it
the
up. So
podium.
you might see that a bunch of times, but Shabam. I mean, just tough kid, huh?
Yeah, he's amazing. Going to be going for his second NHSCA title this year. I'm excited to see it.
And senior this year?
Yep, yep.
Is he committed?
No, I'm not sure anywhere yet. I'm sure he has an idea. It's just I think that's just for him and his family to know right now.
All right, not public yet. It'll come out. All
Yeah,
right. So 120 ended up being a very interesting bracket.
yeah,
So Bill Rick, a sophomore, Peter Rinkin, he started the day as the one seed and did exactly what he does most of his tournaments. He made his way to the semis to take on a very tough Jared Hood of Ponagansett, where he dropped a tight 3-1 match, giving up a late takedown. Hood set a tough pace in that match, and he kept the pressure
yeah,
on most of the match, leading to a couple of stall calls. Um, a great match where Hood stood tall at the end to advance to the finals against Whitman's Hanson's Charlie Lucier, where he
mhm,
scored 9-0 major decision. Rinkin battled back after losing to Hood. He took third, defeating Dominic Barella. You had Christian Pohl of Danbury. He pinned Cale Wood of Haverhill. And I want to mention two things. So I spoke to Rinkin after his loss, and this young man, he continues to show the exact correct attitude, which has
mhm,
him at the top of New England wrestling. And listen, he lost. He understood it didn't crush him. He understood that it happens and he'll get back to work. And he battled back and he took third. We've seen enough talented kids that hit that roadblock or that wall and they fall out, especially in that last tournament of the year when they're not graduating and the college coaches might not be in the area watching them and they're willing to walk away. And I just want to give him kudos for he was undefeated in his high school career. And to lose in the semis at New England's when the goals he's got, it's a tough loss.
mhm.
And the maturity that he handled it with, I always acknowledge his wrestling ability. I just wanted to acknowledge that ability in him. He's a good kid, and a lot of people hate on him because he's a great wrestler. And so, good job, Mr. Rinkin. But this kid Hood, and there's something I want to talk about in that finals match. I wanted to get your opinion on it, but tough. Another tough Ponagansett kid, right?
Mhm.
The
It's
pace that
funny.
this kid set on Rinkin was very impressive.
Yeah, and it's funny. I'm pretty sure last year, Rankin beat Hood by the same score, 3-1 in the quarterfinals. And it's funny. I remember telling Petey, I was like, Petey, your match with Hood, that might be, one of the toughest matches of the tournament for you again. So it was very, very interesting to see it kind of come out the other way this year.
Now there was a sequence. It was 1-1 in the third, right? Going
Mhm.
towards correct me if I'm wrong, but this is how I remembered it. It was 1-1 going into the like late in the third, and Pete goes in on a shot, and Hood he wraps up a cradle. He's got Pete kind of on his butt,
Yeah,
and then Pete kind of not flattened out on his belly, but like kind of made his way back to a base. And then Hood put him back in the exact same position on his butt. And then the two was awarded. Again, I'm not saying it was a bad call. I'm saying it was just odd how it happened in that sequence. I could have seen the ref holding that off a little bit. And again, maybe it's the fanboy in me because we would have saw a beautiful overtime between
yeah.
two very talented kids. So did you happen to catch that part of that?
I did. I'm pretty sure I know what you're talking about. And yeah, I think I'd agree with you there.
Again, being an official, we're in the heat of the battle. So I'm not questioning the official. I'm armchair quarterbacking, if you will, about like, could that have been, because it didn't seem different, but I just wanted to bring that up. All
Yeah.
right.
But
Well,
real
listen,
quick, Charlie Lucier, I had him ranked 14th in my 120 rankings. He was the lowest ranked wrestler. I'm not always sure if it's the highest or lowest when referring to something like that, but number 14, the highest ranked or whatever, entering the finals. So, props to him. He came in fourth last year at 106. Took a couple losses, in the Massachusetts season this year, but just showed he wasn't deterred and, didn't care about his that 14 next to his name on my website. Just said, hey, I'm making the finals, two-time New England placer. And shout out Charlie for making a finals appearance.
Yeah. Hey, and two real good years, two good showings at New England's. So I'm sure we'll see him the next couple of years as well there.
Yeah.
All right. 126. We got a machine from Rhode Island if you want to talk about him.
Yeah, hey, we got Mr. Peyton Ellis. If you guys ain't seen my article, just committed to Powerhouse Johnson and Wales University. And he really showed, that he's ready for the next level in this tournament, putting up over, it looks like, 30 points across his matches. Only really coming close in the finals, but he was facing a Pan Am silver medalist there, the only person to take him down all year in New England, I'd assume. So, Peyton Ellis just kind of doing what he's doing. As he said, and to quote him in my article, winning a New England title is cool, but it's just another day. I know this guy's ready for the next level.
Yeah. He is a refreshing character.
Mm-hmm.
He just it seems, you get some kids, they're very focused, he just seems to be having a blast.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. It's very refreshing. Like you said, he beat Yandel Morris, silver medalist, the U17. No, it was good to see him there. I mean, what a bracket this was. I mean, you
Yeah,
had Braylon Gonzalez from
another
Xavier,
Pan
third
Am World
place.
team member.
Yep.
Yandel and him battle of Pan Am team members.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in the semifinals.
Wow. Well, he bounced back. He beat Joe Mahoney 3-2. You had Nathan Sayers from Xavier defeated again another tough but young Emmett Logan. He pinned him. He's only a sophomore, Logan. He's from Lowell. He's committed to the best, and his coach is committed to him as well. And so I think you're going to see Emmett Logan just continue to climb up that podium here in New England competition. Whether it be
Now
Lowell,
a
whether
two-time placer in 2 years.
uh-huh. So, again, not guarantee doesn't guarantee anything, but it's a good trend for that kid. And he seems like a great kid, man. He works hard and he leads hard on that team. So, congratulations to Peyton Ellis. That's 2 for him, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And a commit to a great school. So he's got a brain in his head too.
Yeah.
I'll keep my ears peeled to see what he does up there.
Yeah.
All right, so let's jump to 132. Weird, but we have another Ponagansett kid here in David Perez. He mashed his way to the finals with a decision and 2 pins. He faced Jonah Paulino, and he had a tech fall and 2 pins. Paulino did. Where did I go? Sorry, I just got lost there. All right. Yeah. So Paulino, he had a tech fall and 2 pins before the battle for first. He had this is a good match, man. I've watched this one a couple of times. And so Paulino, he got a takedown in the first. He rode Perez out, which I was kind of surprised about.
Mm-hmm.
The second period, Paulino gets the reversal. He's up 4-0. Perez quickly gets out. Now, this is where things started to go haywire for Paulino. He went in, high crotch. How many of those has he done in his life? He didn't clear the arm. He left it behind, and Perez caught him in like a crucifix position.
Yeah.
Perez got 2 takedown. Jonah quickly scrambled out and back to his feet. 5-3 Paulino. Paulino goes in on another high crotch. Perez sprawls, cradles Paulino, and pins him. Crazy, right? Paulino's in total control of that match.
Mm-hmm.
He's ahead by not by 2 steps, like a half a step. I mean, he's ahead. He's gotten the move all through that, and he ends up cradled on his back.
Yeah, it looks like the senior just kind of had that strength over the sophomore, and then he just gets caught and snatched up.
Yeah. Oh, heartbreaking, right? Paulino's a great kid, and I know he's been grinding away, trying to climb up to the very tip top of that. And to be so close, I mean, this sport is brutal, but it is what it is. One side is the thrill of victory, the other is the agony of defeat. And so another victor a little bit lower on the podium was Gavin Ripley from Oceanside up in Maine. Battled back for third, beating Dayton Soto from Danbury. And then you had Kevin Kasparowski from Xavier, and he beat Brett Von Magnus of Bristol Raynham,
Bridgewater.
Bridgewater Raynham. So a couple of Connecticut kids there after a very talented and surprising finals. What do you think?
I mean, I think the most interesting thing here in the placers is Gavin Ripley, being the top highest placer from Maine on the boys' side, and then his sister winning the girls' championship. Could you say Ripley best pound for pound wrestling family in Maine?
I
That's
like
very
it.
cool, very very cool family accomplishment for them. And then
I believe
you go down
so.
the list. You go down the list a little lower. You see, you got Dayton Soto, the Connecticut state champion, and then Kevin Kasparowski, who's actually the third place finisher in Connecticut. So it's kind of cool to see, the 1 and 3 make it. And then sadly, my boy Phoenix, was the 2, but ran into Paulino and Von Magnus. So it is what it is.
Yeah, listen, it's a tough road even for the best kid, right?
Yeah.
Everybody here is good. You slip up, they'll take your food. So,
Hmm.
all right, 138 pounds. Number one seed, Sid Tilsley, had big plans to race to another New England title, though Joseph Joyce of Pontiac, he had similar dreams, and they faced off in the semis to see who would stay on track. Pretty quiet first period. Sid gets an early takedown, rides a bit before scramble, sees Joyce reverse, gets a set of three. All of a sudden, 6-2. Tilsley starts on the bottom, goes for a Granby roll, which ends him on his back, surrenders another set of three, 9-2 Joyce. A reversal and an escape later, and Joyce is headed to the finals, where he decisioned Jaquez Mendez, East Hartford, 7-4.
Hmm.
Listen, Sidney Tilsley from Shawsheen Tech, he does what young lions do, and he battles back to number three. He has a 15-8 win over Michael Belanger of Milford. And then you had Sebastian Armstrong of Coventry beats Shea Morris of Haverhill. And, again, I don't want to say upset because I don't think it's an upset for Joseph Joyce to win that. It's an upset for most people that only know, Sid. He's just so
Hmm.
dominant in this area. And so when we're not even talking in the finals, right? We're in the semis, and he's in a battle like this. So this Joseph Joyce, again, I did a little research. Absolute stud. And
Yeah.
he handled Sid pretty easy, if you ask me. I mean, Sid is never going to quit, but he was in control of that match. A couple of errors that I think Sid gets away with a lot. Not that day.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of goes back to what I was saying before, just about Pontiac and being battle tested. You think about, Joe Joyce's schedule. He's probably wrestled, at least 15 Sydney Tillsleys this year. So he's probably won against some, he's lost against some. Today he happened to beat Sid, or on Saturday he happened to beat Sid. But that's what getting that tough schedule prepares you for. So you could compete with the best of the best. And Joe Joyce is now the best of the best. Kid's only a sophomore too. He has some great wins over some top 100 recruits in the class of 2024 and 2025. So this kid, we're looking at a kid by the time he's a senior is going to be a top 10 kid in the country, I think.
Really, what is going on around here, man? Listen, New Hampshire didn't do
Him
so
and
well.
Perez might be in 2 years might be top 10, top 15 in their weight classes.
I love it. Hey, let's infiltrate the top 10. That's what I say.
Hmm.
Um, well, listen, man, where there's one Tilsley, there's a second, and that is
Hmm.
baby brother James, right? And
Yep.
I'm sure he was no doubt disappointed in his brother's loss, but he had his own battle to win, and he had that against fellow finalist Victor Petkoff of is that Ridgefield?
Yep.
Yep. So Petkoff, he got a monster takedown at the end of the first, nearly getting backs on his way down. It ends the first 2-0, but he had James up in the air. And
Hmm.
so he does his things. James out quick to start the second, immediately gets up and gets a two when they tie up. Simply bowled Victor over. Tisley locks up a far side cradle for a set of three, makes it 6-2. A few close reversals by Petkoff and a lock in hands. It's 6-3 going into the third. JT on top to start and Petkoff out early. 6-4. Tisley's one more takedown and an escape. And Tisley's your 144-pound New England champion. The kid is an absolute lion. He rubs people the wrong ways. There's a whole conversation that could be had about the entire day. We'll leave it for another day. But the kid had an amazing trip up to the finals podium, and he's a force to be reckoned with, and he's gonna be a force to be reckoned with for a little while. That
Yeah.
leaves Kyle LeVake in third from Xavier. He had a 4-0 decision over James Linder of Monty Tech. And then Dylan Sherman of, I think, Fairfield Ludlow, 6-3 over Kobe Vital, Ponagansett. Again, we've talked about the Tilsley. They're a tough group of kids. I think James is probably the toughest.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially in this bracket too. And it's kind of funny, like I preached last week that Connecticut was, I think, the toughest weight here, or toughest state for 144. And if you look at his quarterfinals, semis, and finals match, he just went all through Connecticut kids. It's kind of funny.
Yep. Yeah, he's a bit of a beast there. And again, I'm sure he probably used a little motivation from his brother's loss to lock in and be as focused as he could and understanding like, hey, we are beatable if we lose focus. And here's the other thing, not that Sid lost focus. This is the kind of tournament that happens in, right? You see kids in street shoes that you're like, what? Like, how are you out? And
Yeah,
so, good job there, James and everybody else in the 144. Want to take the 150?
let's do it. Here at 150, it was a clear cut number one, came in, got the job done. Mr. Cornell commit, Ivy League bound, Gabe Boysu came in, wins his third title, automatic inductee into the New England Wrestling Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Gabe. And he took down in a rematch the Rhode Island State Finals, Carnell Davis, freshman from Ponagansett, 16-4. And then moving over to the third place match, we have another freshman, Jake Maddox from Newtown, who avenged a loss from earlier in the tournament to Lucas Libby from Mountain Valley, Maine, 11-6. And then in the fifth place matchup, Evan Sheeby, sophomore from Gilbert, defeated John Lagana from Xavier, Connecticut, 5-0. So a lot of underclassmen here. Half the places here are underclassmen, so that's very interesting to see. Especially Davis and Maddox, the 2 and 3 placers. Both being freshmen. I think this weight class or whatever weight class those guys are in is going to be in a good spot next few years.
Well, I'll tell you, I have a theory as to why it's filled with underclassmen, and that's because it was probably the most avoided weight class in New England. Where's Gabe going? I'll
Yeah,
either suck weight or I'll put weight on, one of the two. But I'm not messing with that kid. That's the level that kid is at.
yeah.
Just an incredible competitor. Aiden Hanning, who was a Northfield Mount Herman guy on the prep scene. He's now at Cornell. I think he took a medical red shirt this year. So they'll be chewing the same mess. So there's good company out there for him from the New England area. And he's going to be fun to watch and see how quick he can crack the lineup and start to do some damage up there. And
Yeah.
so it brings me to my heartbreaker of a bracket, and that's 157. It hurts to talk about it. One of my favorites here in New Hampshire and number one seed, Tegan McConnell. He picked the wrong day to have the worst tournament day of his life and the absolute wrong time. So round of 16, McConnell drops a 4-3 decision to Nathan Hicks. And not saying anything bad about Nathan Hicks. He won. But Tegan, he just didn't look sharp. He didn't even look there. It was just a bad first match. And so, hey, you figure Tegan's the kind of kid, he'll go underneath and he'll climb up. Well, he tried to. Unfortunately, he had a pretty nasty, but turns out nothing broken. I think it was a very vicious sprain, but I had an awful angle on it, watching it happen. And so he pops out. He's out of the tournament. Broke my heart. I almost didn't want to watch 157, but I did. And so we had a very talented kid, and I would have loved to have seen if they could have locked horns and Tegan was having a great day. But he had Jaden D'Ambrosio, St. John Prep. He was on the bottom side of the bracket as the 2 seed, and he worked his way to the finals where he had a 3-0 decision over Vincent DeMaio. And he claims the title there at 157 pounds. 4th straight win in as many weeks for D'Ambrosio for DeMaio. it's so frustrating as a wrestler, but it is what it is. You had Caden Talento of Platt, 7-4 decision over Ryan Courier. And then Mark Morath, Newtown, beats Vincent Rivera of Xavier 9-4 for their fifth and sixth match. But this D'Ambrosio, he's a pretty talented kid too. So that's why I again, heartbroken.
A little tough to
Congratulations.
see him and McConnell. Uh, D'Ambrosio, he's an Edinburgh commit. I think him and McConnell would have been fireworks. Like you said, it just wasn't McConnell's day, and he ended up having a bout with DeMeo for the fourth time in as many weeks.
Yeah. And you know, I would say it's harder to beat somebody four times than it is to lose to somebody, right?
Yeah,
Because you start figuring the gap closes just because the familiarity starts to come in. And so that's a great win. And you know, I bet you Jaden would have liked to have that matchup too, not being the one seed and obviously a competitor. That he would like to test his mettle there. All right, jumping up to 165 pounds in his final quest for New England championship status. Haverhill's Brent Nicolosi. He secures it in his senior year to cap off what I think has been a magical year for the Hillies, including a team title at the MIAA All-State Wrestling Tournament last week. Nicolosi is one of the good guys. It's great to see him pull off a great day of wrestling, and he ends it with a 10-1 major decision over Andrew Real upon Agansett. And then after dropping his quarterfinal match, Fisher Styles of Newtown, he hit the long road to third and did it with a 3-1 win over Lucas Alvin of Ledlow. And Dominic Bubar received a forfeit from Joseph Bolduc for fifth place. And Max, I know you've been around the sport for a while. I know you know who Nicolosi is, the family. Brendan Nicolosi couldn't pick me from a lineup of strangers. I guarantee it. But I was happy that he won because he's a
yeah,
good kid. I've watched him compete. I like the sportsmanship. I like the toughness. I like everything about the kid. And everybody I talk to, they say the same thing. So good to see him pull one off before he heads out of high school. What do you think?
yeah. No, it's great. I love Brent a lot. He's amazing. One of the funniest things is, I was watching the match. The Haverhill coaches were probably like 5 feet away from me to my left, and it's 5 seconds left or 10 seconds. Brent gets hit with a stalling call, and what the Haverhill coach says just I think perfectly encapsulates how Brent wrestles. He goes, "Good job, Brent. First one in 4 years," because that's just how he wrestles. He just go go go, wrestle hard. So I was really happy to see him to come out and win the title. Especially, I'm pretty sure came in second last year, so it was nice to see him get over the hump.
Yeah, exactly. And again, before there was specialization in wrestling or in sports in general, you had to climb.
Hmm.
Kids like to be a two-timer way back when was really difficult.
Yep.
And so that climb and being able to stay on that grind, even when you're not getting the results you want, and then just reaching it that last year, good for him, man. It couldn't have happened to a nicer kid. And congratulations to the rest of the crew there as well. Again.
Yeah, yeah. Like you said, magical year for Haverhill.
Yeah.
Congrats to them. They're doing something great. And next year, they're only losing Nicolosi, I think.
Yeah.
So they'll be
Well, if
back.
Ponagansett doesn't come back next year, then somebody
Yeah,
else could win.
yeah.
All right, so 175. And speaking about trying to stay on top, we have our next newest member of the New England Wrestling Hall of Fame here in Central Catholics, Nate Blanchett, who also had an ankle injury in the semifinals, I believe it was, where there was a good amount of injury time, but he was
I
able
was
to.
there.
You were there, right?
I was watching it from distance, but I was really scared. You
Yeah,
know.
me too. He pounded that mat like a big old gorilla.
Hmm.
And if you know Nate Blanchett and you've seen the arms on that kid, he's got gorilla arms both in size and length. And
Yeah,
he
he almost put a
swat
hole
that
through it.
mat down and he was in some visible pain. He got back to where he needed to be and he marched on to the finals and he took on Preston Marshall from Ponagansett. 3-1 match, secured a late third period takedown. And again, with his third New England championship, gains automatic entry into the New England Hall of Fame. And so, congratulations to the Rutgers commit. it wasn't easy, but he got it done over a tough Ponagansett kid.
Yeah, yeah, Preston. He's another Fargo All American. I believe he was fifth or sixth at freestyle last year. So he's definitely no slouch. And it was a very close match. And I think Blanchette just showed the composure. He's been here before, and that's what it needs when you need to score in the last 30 seconds to win New England title. Those are the traits you need. And his semifinals match with Lincoln Carlson, shout out to Carlson getting a couple of reversals on the D1 commit and then coming back and, Carlson and Dave Pinto Jr., that was a good match too.
That's what I was gonna get to. Because again, I'm a homer, and we got a New Hampshire boy, and this year we didn't have a ton of them, and so two to be exact. So he's the first one on the boys' side, and that is one of the good ones here, and David Pinto Jr. He is a junior in high school, so I'm happy that I get another year with him. He's not a kid who cuts weight. He's actually undersized for 175 pounds.
Yeah.
Um, which I respect that. He could have dropped down, sucked the weight. Nope. He's staying healthy. I know he wasn't feeling the greatest on Saturday. He kind of was working into it from Friday. Again, not an
Mhm.
excuse, but listen, it happens, right? He was he was going to wrestle as hard as he could, no matter what, and that's exactly what he did. And he podiums for the second year in a row down at New England's at a again. I want to say it again at a weight class that he is undersized in
Mhm.
compared to a lot of these other kids.
He could easily
Um,
go 165.
yeah, yes. And here he is, fourth place at 175. And I'm not seeing his cheekbones. He's not getting sick all the time during the season. He's not dealing with the injuries that he used to deal with. Like, it's a win-win. Congratulations to him. I know he wants to be at the top of the podium like every other kid in this tournament, but a fourth place finish in a weight class like that, nothing to be ashamed of. In fact, I would say quite the opposite. Hold your head high. And I'm sure he's going to use that as the motivation that he needs for his senior year to try to do exactly what we just talked about with Nicolosi. So,
Mhm.
Pento Jr., one of the good guys. I got him for another year. I'm excited about it.
Yeah. A quick shout out to Anthony Mattis, the only boys placer for Vermont. Definitely tough when you're the only one representing your state on the podium, but shout out Mattis.
Big shout out.
Yeah.
Amazing shout out from a whole state. The
Hmm.
only kid that could cut it. And that's big. And again, New Hampshire only had two. Um, and again, I can't speak for Vermont, but I can tell you this. I try to bang the drum as much as I can here in New Hampshire to get things to change, to improve, so we could have a growth spurt like I've seen in Connecticut.
Hmm.
And, I'm interested to hear about all that. But old regimes don't do new things, and so until we get some new blood in and any of that stuff, or there's a riot, we're not going to have much better results. I suspect it's very much the same in Vermont. And so huge shout out to your singular placer, Vermont. Excellent, good job, Max. All right. So might as well, I'll lead this one, and then you can lead the rest, because this is where the New Hampshire stops for us. And so at 190 pounds, in our last hope for New Hampshire to get a New England title in 2024, we have a very talented and a gritty Elijah Joseph or Josie, excuse me, from Portsmouth. He tactically made his way to the finals. Looked great on his feet, didn't waste a ton of energy trying to ride people out, just kept taking them down, letting them up, and it worked all the way into the finals, where he met Maximus Konopka from Simsbury. And Konopka reached the finals on the back of a huge 7-5 win over Spencer Fine in the quarterfinals. Yes, I said that, in the quarterfinals. From there, it was two pins, including over runner-up Josie, to claim the title at 190 pounds. Fine bounced back for his second, third in as many weeks, beating Ben Ronca from York. And then Jack Gianetto from Narragansett takes fifth place with a major decision over Toppin. But Simsbury, that's your neck of the woods. We talked about this kid on the preview show, and he
Hmm.
didn't disappoint.
No, no, dude, and it's if you're gonna be in Max Kanafka's weight class for the next 3 years, you should probably think about changing weights, because this kid, him beating Fine, I don't see anyone touching him for the next 3 years. if I'm being honest. It's pretty insane.
Well, to be fair, everybody said that about Fine, and look what happened this year.
Yeah. Everyone
So,
would say that about Sid too.
yep, it's really difficult to stay on top.
Hmm.
And there's a bunch of young killers underneath that are they're climbing and chasing you, and they're just as good. And so, I hesitate to say, it's good, but that kid's going to be in the mix for a few years at the very top of it. And so,
He already
um,
started the quest for four, so it'll be
yeah,
interesting to keep it going.
exactly. That's the
How about
crazy thing.
how about Jack Giannetto showing that his win over Fine last week wasn't a fluke? Comes out, takes fifth at New England, just proves himself.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
see,
Like you said, no fluke. You don't do that 2 weeks in a row. You might catch somebody the first week, but when you're climbing up like that and you take fifth place in a bracket like that, phew.
hmm
And I will say this, my heart's a little heavy on this one because I believe that Elijah's going to be looking to head to a prep school, if I'm not mistaken, and
Oh,
talking with
okay.
his dad and stuff. I know they're I don't know that it's locked in, but I believe they're contemplating it. And with the state of New Hampshire wrestling, I think that's a good idea for him. Like
hmm
he needs more if he's going to crack bigger levels and look to go to college, he's gonna need tougher competition throughout the year.
Yeah.
Specifically his high school wrestling season. And he's in a Division II school here in New Hampshire. Division II is probably our weakest out of the three, numbers wise and competition wise. And I think that, you know, I'll miss him. And his brother Sam, who's right behind him, is gonna be again like James and Sid, right? Sid's
hmm
real good, but James is a killer. You're like, oh, watch out for that kid in a couple of years. I think Sam's gonna be very much the same way. I think he's gonna explode like Josie, like his older brother did with Elijah. And I think he's gonna be those kids are gonna be prep kids. My
hmm
heart breaks, but you gotta do what's best for your family. So
Exactly.
Royce, like I told you, I ain't mad at you. I'm just sad.
Yeah.
Um, all right, Schwartz, to get me through to 215, we got some royalty name in there at least, and he proved that he's worthy of it.
Yeah, yeah, we got not Chris Weidman, as champion here. We got Charles Weidman from Xavier. And, for the second straight week, he took down Sammy Montavani from East Hartford, Connecticut, and Weidman, living up to the family name. He's legit. Like I said last week, I've never seen the 215 move like him. And, I believe last week at the Connecticut Opens, his match with Sammy was 7-3. And this time he just, 3-0, pin in 3 minutes. Goes to show, that he was fired up this week and ready for the title.
Yeah.
And Mason Pellegrini coming in third. He was my number one for most of the year. And then Montavani, just beats him 6-3 in the quarters. So that was very impressive to see. And he also Pellegrini beat Malachi Fowler from Wyndham. And then fifth place, Jeremy Vasquez earned the medal with the forfeit over Matthew Harrell. But yeah, Montavani and Weidman, Connecticut rematch. Just want to give a shout out to Sam real quick. Sam is a three-time Connecticut State runner-up and now a two-time New England runner-up. So never able to break it onto the top spot of the podium in states or New England's, but we all know he was right there.
On paper, that looks like it sucks, right?
hmm
But in reality, that's an amazing career.
hmm
The consistency to be the bridesmaid, if you want to say. I know he's going to hear jokes about it no matter where he goes. That's just what we do to each other. But that's an amazing career. There are kids that never touch the podium on the top at any tournament, you know?
hmm
So don't take for granted, what you got and never be satisfied either. Always trying to get better, right? So,
Yeah.
all right. So that's 215. We are down now to our final bracket of the night, and it was dominated. If you want, you can lead because,
Yeah.
man, we all know who it was.
Yeah, Thomas Brown, big man from Chelmsford Lion, comes in, wins his second New England title as a junior. And again, for the third straight week, I believe he takes down Alex Bahoris from St. John's Prep. And I think it was the first match when they faced at the D1 sectional. I'm pretty sure Brown pinned him, And then this one, or last week, it was close. And now this one, it's even closer. So, like you said, that familiarity, the horse is able to keep it with Brown a little bit. And then, in third place, we have another Massachusetts heavyweight, Gabriel Thomas from Brookline. So Massachusetts taking top three, and he took down Griffin Moreau from Wyndham, Westbrook, and G&G in Maine. A tri-op team. So it's cool to see. And shout out Griffin. He was sporting the pink hair there this weekend. So looks very funky, man.
Nice.
And fifth place, Keonta Crawford from Enfield took down sophomore Kaz Morsetti from North Kingstown, Rhode Island, in a thrilling 11-9 match. And Morsetti only a sophomore, so it's gonna be nice to see him next few years.
Yeah, we're emptying the chamber on a few, but we're reloading right behind him. So
Yeah.
look, Thomas Brown, he's going to be tough to beat for the remainder of his time in high school. He is going to be the man to beat. Next year he's going to be battling for his automatic induction into the New England Hall of Fame as well. Bioris is really fun to watch wrestler. It's just he's at a time where there's a kid who's just Brown is just that good right now.
I believe they're
And
both. I know Brown is, obviously NHSCA champion, and I think Bahor is even two placed as a freshman. So that's two All Americans, battling
yeah,
out.
and 1 and 2 seeds. They both did their job and made their way to the finals. So congratulations to both of them. And listen, I gotta give a shout out to Gabriel Thomas because that kid, 6 straight wins to claim third. And so,
Yeah,
while
got some
Brown and
match.
Bioris are sitting back relaxing, this kid's grinding 6 underneath. And listen, I'm sure he'd rather sit back and relax and take first. But when you eat mud pie and you end up turning it into third place, I think that's a tough road. And so those are individual brackets. So now again, a runaway. Pontigansett had 7 finalists, 4 champs, 9 total podium spots, closed a monster 209 points, far ahead of second place Xavier at 149. Even further back, yet still very respectable, was Haverhill in third place at 90, I think 5.5.
Yep.
Highest placing New Hampshire team was Portsmouth on the back of runner-up Elijah Josie. The only other placers for New Hampshire was New Hampshire's, Londonderry's David Pinto Jr. Again, 2 great kids representing New Hampshire well. Just like to see that number get pumped up, but you got to earn that. We'll definitely see Pinto next year. Josie, we may lose. But I got to tell you, Max, I thought it was a really well-run tournament.
Mm-hmm.
The officiating was okay. I think that if we're being authentic, it could use some work.
Yeah.
And I say that knowing that my own state could use some work,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that it's time that we all try to do what we tell these wrestlers to do, and that's work on it in the off season and get better and be coachable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think then we'd have a lot of the things that did occur at the New Englands handled properly. And I think we'd avoid a lot of negative impacts from bad behavior. And so with that being said, that's the New Englands. That's the 2023-24 season. Any final thoughts?
I really think it was a great season, and I love to see all these kids compete and work so hard, and just last weekend, it's what it's all for. So just, I love being there in person and just seeing everything these kids work for, shout out to them, every single kid that signed up for a wrestling team this year, it's amazing.
Couldn't have said it better myself. I'd like to thank you and Isaiah. Isaiah was unable to make it tonight, but he was a big part of that preview show. And I thank you again for being here. You have a plethora of knowledge in your head from all the states. And I imagine, like I said, I think there's some cool things that we could do to promote the very athletes that you just spoke so highly of, that put everything on the line and do everything possible to try to reach their goals. And in a community where that's not often highlighted and we often see the bad, poor behavior in our youth, I'm committed to shining the light on these types of kids that if everything hit the fan and civilization went away, these would be the types of people that would provide the security and anything that was needed to rebuild back. And so I'm
Yep.
glad we got an army under there training to make sure everything is good for my grandson, your future kids, and whoever else might be coming. So, the Schwartz Report, ne.com. If you want great articles about New England wrestling, if you want, hey, this is what it could have been on rankings, you want a written recap of New England's, go check out Max's website. It's an amazing thing. He does rankings during the year. There is no off season for him. A little more official. Why don't you go ahead and plug it out? The Bullies Wrestling Club.
Yeah, yeah. Shout out my boy Phoenix Gardella. I mentioned him earlier. You know, his career just ended. Starting up wrestling club, Bullies Wrestling Club here in Norwalk, Connecticut. You know, I'm gonna be helping out there a bunch. So, you know, hopefully we could get some kids down there and, you know, just help out the next generation of youth.
I love it. Well, don't be getting rid of that Schwartz report because I'm gonna need your input. So, and I think one thing that we got to look to do is a little more collaboration during the season, so all these Connecticut kids don't just pop up on my radar in 1 week.
Yeah,
Cool.
definitely.
All right. Well, to the rest of the people, if you're still here listening, or if you zipped around, thank you very much for your support with Ben's Den and with the Schwartz Report. He gets a lot of support as well, and I know he's appreciative of that. And look forward to a quieter off season, and we'll see you in 24, 25. Thanks, guys.